It's a beautiful afternoon to you, and thanks for joining us again on television, on our program on TV, African Discourse. My name is Evan Sunokoge. Well, today on the program, we are going to be looking at the political situation in Burkina Faso, one West African country, one nation that some persons say that the issue of coup d'etat is one thing that we don't talk about anymore on the continent of Africa. But with what is going on in Burkina Faso, little wonder, what are some African leaders getting up to? Well, we understand that on the 30th day of September 2022, another coup d'etat took place after we had one about 8 months ago. And we also understand that a new head has been named to be the head of the transition government in Burkina Faso, and that government has been mandated to conduct an election that we see a well-democratically elected president in 2024. So it means that the new transition head has just about 2 years, because we're in 2022, so in another 2 years, this guy has just the opportunity to conduct a fresh election. Well, to look at the situation in Burkina Faso this afternoon, talking about Burkina Faso coup matters arising, we are so privileged to have Dr. Peter Waibi. He's a political analyst and, of course, a public affairs analyst too. And he is a member of the Presidential Campaign Council of the Labour Party. So you're welcome to this program this morning on ITV.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome to the program African Discourse now.
Thank you very much.
All right, so you're welcome to the program one more time, African Discourse. I'm so used to this morning on ITV. So just like what we're trying to say, that on the 30th of September 2022, a coup d'etat took place in Burkina Faso, removing the interim president, Paul Henry Santiago Damiba, over his inability to deal with the Islamist movement, Islamic Jihadist insurgency. And of course, we are told that Damiba had come to power in a coup d'etat also just only about 8 months ago. And also we are told that 8 months later now, Captain Ibrahim Traoré took over as interim leader. And the young man, we can see the picture there. That will be the picture one now of the new interim government head, who also took over from Damiba. So I was told that the young man who led the coup in Burkina Faso was few days ago named as the interim president until the election held in July 2024. Damiba had earlier forced out Roch Mark Christian Kabore in January. We're going to see all these pictures as we get along on the show. Okay, let's even see the first picture. We have the picture one now. That's the new transition leader there. We're talking about Traoré now, the new transition leader, the picture one. Let's have that. And of course, we can, let's have the picture one.
Have ushered in Captain.
That picture one, not the video now. This the transition, taking over the transition that was done a few days ago, on Friday to be precise. So let's see picture one, so that we get to see the new head of the transition government in Burkina Faso. Picture one, not the video. This is the transition ceremony. Okay. All right. We can see that. We can see the video now, whereby the new interim leader was made and he was named. Okay, let's hear the sound so that we get to follow it. So let's just hear the sound.
To rally around national priorities and emergencies, because we did not have a single minute to lose to. You will have noticed that the objectives of the transition have been refocused on the fight for security in order to recover the integrity of the territory, to return the displaced populations to their localities by providing them with a basic level of administration, and then certainly with basic necessities so that they can get by.
Des produits de nécessité pour qu'ils puissent s'en sortir.
Burkina Faso has a long history of coups since independence from France in 1960. The latest are rooted in unrest within army ranks over the jihadist insurgency that swept in from neighboring Mali in 2015.
All right, thank you so much. Here, African Discourse is still the program. All right, so Dr. Peter Waibi, we have a new transition head in Burkina Faso. He has the responsibility for just 2 years to ensure that he returns the country back to normal democratic rule. Now, let's start with the coup d'etat. I don't know what's going on. Right from 1960, since Burkina Faso got independence from the French colonial masters, it seems that country has not known peace. It's been one story of coup d'etat or the other. What is going on in Burkina Faso?
Yeah, well, first of all, may I say thank you very much for inviting me to your program. And the topic, again, is a topic of high controversy. But if you must understand one thing about Africans, they have this contempt for democracy. You see, they dislike democracy. Otherwise, a country that had independence in 1960, just the same year that Nigeria had her independence, you know, they both had independence the same year.
Yeah.
And that's 1960. 6 years down the line, which is 1966, this in Burkina Faso had a coup in January. And Nigeria, a few weeks after that,
Had a civil war.
Nigeria had a coup. That same January, Nigeria had its coup January 15th. Burkina Faso had its coup about January 5th or thereabout, few weeks apart. And they had the independence 1960, both years, both countries the same year. And though since then, Burkina Faso has graduated into the lineage of one of the poorest countries in the world, not in Africa, standing at about 128th position out of about 134 position of the poor countries of the world. And this same country has had coup since 1966. After the first coup, they have had about 9 coups that have culminated into this present September 30th coup of 2022. As against Nigeria, is contemporary in terms of coup, haven't had 5. Nigeria have had 5 coups since 1960. Since 1960 and 1963 when they came into the republic, you know, yes, after the the independence, and so they have been like this. But the difference between these coups, Nigeria is a population of well over 200 million as of now. That is in spite of the coup. Nigerians are still busy loving themselves and reprocreating 200 million. Burkina Faso's total population is less than 22 million. So for a country that has only 22 million, you will be shocked and surprised. Where is the differences coming from? Where is the diversity in the ethnicity that creates the need to always come into either a table talk or they subject themselves to a military coup? And a military coup d'etat, you know, okay, fine, sorry, I could not say a military coup because there's a lot of difference between a military coup. A military coup d'etat.
Well, what is the difference?
And a coup.
Yeah.
The difference is this. Military coup d'etat is being perpetuated, effected, and carried out by military power, violence, arms, displacement, dehumanization, and suspension of human rights. And a coup is by way of advancements like what we call now, like a Labour Party movement now, global movement. That's like a coup, but it's not a coup d'etat. It's just a coup when they come into power by this movement of everybody by way of submission and agreement, you know. I haven't said such similarities between Nigeria and Burkina Faso. Burkina Faso's coup d'etat does not help them in any way to grow, either economically or socially or technologically. The country is still very backward, with a progression of only about 2% of their GDP advancement. You know, their progression is very, very infinitesimal. You know, their progression economically is almost non-plus. The country could have been developed or non-plusity, but because of this coup d'etat upon coup d'etat, they are streamlined into the level of adamant poverty and
now,
organic. Yes.
Yeah, okay, sorry to interrupt you there. Now, we are looking at a situation that did not just start today, because we've been able to trace the history of coup in Burkina Faso back to 1960. But recent development now shows that reasons why the country has gone into coup again is because of the jihadist movement.
That's correct.
That the last democratically elected president they had, in the name of Rochma Christian Kabore, could not fight the jihadist movements in Burkina Faso. But again, we also understand that it's as a result of breakdown of the same jihadist movements in Mali that is now snowballing into Burkina Faso.
Yes, now that you have said so.
But the issue here is that jihadist movement, you may want to say, is only a recent development, perhaps in the sub-West African Sahara desert nations. So how come right from 1960 they've had coup as one of their major problems? When will they have jihadist issues then way back in 1960?
You know, now let me give you an outline of this problem, the possible cause that fuels and sustains the problem of, or the advancement of coup in these poor nations of Africa. Nigeria, Ethiopia, Sudan, Somalia, and of course,
Burkina Faso. Yeah.
You know, Burkina Faso, for instance, is a lock-landed country. It's lock-landed in between Muslim extremist country. Like they are lock-landed. Mali, yes, Mali is there, Togo is there, Benin is there, Niger is there. So they're in the middle. And all the surrounding countries, these landlocked Burkina Faso within these countries, they are all Islamic insurgents, active countries. And so they penetrate ideologically or personally. In persons, they can invade Burkina Faso and start to introduce their pathetic, uncivilized, extremist movement, which is violence, jihadist, Islamic insurgency. So government after government will base their bastion of reasons for coup in quelling insurgency, or previous government are not able to quell insurgency. This present interim
government now.
Government of Burkina Faso, led by Ibrahim Traoré, is one of the youngest ever head of state in the world at the age of 34. As of September 30th, this 2022. And if you look at it from that point of view, a coup will always stampede the authority and the democracy and the rights of the citizens. One, they will suspend the constitution. Two, they will rule by decree, which is so stiff, very autocratic, very military, very regimental. Three, they will even rule by edicts. And at the end of the day, they are able to incarcerate, without proper due process, citizens. And when they do that, they bid fear. They bid fear hell onto the citizens who are now being governed by the wealthy of the stake. And so the citizens are reduced by their human rights. They are reduced to position fettered like animals in cage.
Okay. Now, one good thing about the last coup in Burkina Faso now is that on September 30, we're told that some Burkina Faso citizens, they had to come out on the streets. They were jubilating. They said that they were waving the Russian flag and all that. The question is, what is the relationship with the country Russia, a country that is at war with Ukraine, and the coup in Burkina Faso? That's one question on one side. Perhaps some persons may want to stretch it further to say that, okay, now that we have Ibrahim Traoré, maybe this is the last coup we're going to have, because we are told that the way the young man came in now, he came in with a part of an article that seems to be very in tandem with the expectation of the people. As a matter of fact, that article says that even Ibrahim Traore cannot contest for an election. I mean, unlike situations that we've had elsewhere. There is a military leader that came into power through coup. Then at the week of an election, he resigns as a military man and he contests an election and he takes over as a democratically elected president. So what is really, in this light, how do you want to say it?
Well, then let me put it this way, for instance. Your first question, why were they waving the Russian flag?
Yeah.
You know, Burkina Faso is a country colonized by the French. And so this, as a matter of fact, the official language is French language. That's what it is.
In Russia?
In Burkina Faso,
yes.
Yeah. And now...
We're talking about the Russian flag now.
I know. I'm trying to come into comparison as to the reason that developed why they are now waving Russian flags. This same Ibrahim Traore, the present interim leader, was financed by Russia. Russia wants to have an inroad into Africa, and particularly they also want to have an inroad to sub-Saharan divisions and regions, because they have always felt being left out in the richness of Africans and their naturally endowed resources. Now remember that Burkina Faso has little wealth. Burkina Faso's national GDP is $45 billion.
The whole nation?
Yes, $45 billion. Its own, personal income per capita is less than $3 a day. Do you understand? So Russians are trying to have an inroad there. They must have they financed the coup, possibly, yes. And so don't forget that when Thomas Sankara came in, Thomas Sankara was like the revolutionary leadership of Burkina Faso. When he changed the name that was given to it by the French colonial masters from Upper Volta
to Burkina Faso.
He was streaming for change, you know, a very realistic change, a change that want to create Africanism in the system by which Africans are living and Africans are governed. Unlike, okay, quickly, let me divert. Unlike Nigeria, for instance, a name given to us by our colonial master's wife, you know, Lord Lugard's wife, gave us Nigeria. Yeah. What's her name again? Foxy? Yeah, Foxy gave us Flora. Flora gave us Nigeria. Yeah. Took it from the protectorate of northern Nigeria and southern Nigeria, combined it together and made it Nigeria. A 24-year-old journalist. And since then, we have been betting and sunshining and galvanizing and prouding ourselves as Nigeria. We, successive governments, all these coup experts, expert coup plotters and coup executioners in Nigeria, all the likes of Oga Babangida, Mamangida, and all the rest, they have not been able to look into the possibility of giving us our own name. And so we are just, you know, dabbling in confusion, in blindness, carrying on as Nigeria that was given to us by British colonial masters. Now back to Burkina Faso. Burkina Faso has a reason to stay out of coup, because when you have military juntas ruling a country, the possibility is that you are economically strangulated, you are economically restricted, you are economically bounded, and above all, your lips are tied voicelessly. But if you allow the people into democratic processes, they are able to move around, communicate with the rest of the world, and be able to grow their economy. Forget that, you know, Russia's interest in Burkina Faso now is because the land is blessed with gold. They have a lot of gold. That's one of their powerful mineral, natural resources. Outside that, what do they do in Burkina Faso? Farming and livestock. That's all. That's all. That is what generates the money for them.
All right. Yeah, we're still looking at the political situation in Burkina Faso, where September 30th, to be precise, we had the last coup after a coup also happened 8 months ago. Now, we're talking about some pictures so that we get to see the pictures now. The next picture, the picture one, we have the interim leader, you may want to say now, the head of the interim government in Burkina Faso, in the person of Ibrahim Traoré. So let's quickly see that picture. Yes, this is the young man, 34 years of age, the youngest world head leader now.
Yes, right now,
on
record.
Years
outside
of
the Chile's one that was 36
Ibrahim Traoré, Captain Ibrahim Traoré, the head of... all right, so we've got this one. This one is Damiba. Damiba, yes, Paul Harry Santiago Damiba, that's the name. He was the one that was ousted by Ibrahim Traoré. And of course, we have the democratically elected president, the one that was also ousted by Damiba now, is of the name Roch Mark Christian Kabore. So he was, taken out sometime in January this year. So these are the three leaders now. That's the political situation in Burkina Faso lies. So we've also seen the swearing-in ceremony whereby Ibrahim Traoré was sworn in as the new head of the interim government in Burkina Faso. All right, now let's look at it. We talked about the 2 years. 2 years that Ibrahim Traoré has to conduct an election. Do we think these 2 years is enough? Doctor?
It's, with due considerations into some of this political jingoism, into this form of political, promises that are not actually actualizable by the same people that make the promise. He tells us now, because he wants to gain a standard recognition, a standard acceptance, and a standard followership of his new interim government, he tells the people what they want to hear. By 2024, we would give you back the opportunity to do an election. But that is hoax, it's bogus. You cannot trust a man that came in by military intervention. You cannot trust a man that came in by coup. In the case of Nigeria, Babangida came in by coup. He postponed the date of election, the return to civilians many, many, many times. And then after that, we codenamed him Maradona.
But we had an election at least.
Yeah, but after dribbling and redribbling and passing the balls left and right, and at the end of the day, pass the ball to General Abacha. These things, I'm telling you that military intervention is not a government that you can trust. You see, you cannot trust them because they rule by decree, and that means you cannot question them. They rule by decree or they rule by edicts. You cannot ask a man with the gun, say, what did you tell me yesterday? You will not hear it. They can even retrogress their policies. They can also retrogress their enactments. They can also retrogress the effectiveness of the date of their decrees. Like what happened in Nigeria some time ago, we don't want to call the cases. But the decree says, you can pay for let if the military let your property. But when some, innocent woman came and said, military are owing me 5 years, military said, no, that decree, they removed it. They removed this. And reenacted a decree by way, it's not an amendment. They just do what they want to do. So you cannot tell me that you can take the words of a coup plotter. Don't forget, coup is a criminal offense. So a coup plotter is a criminal. So you cannot tell me that the words of a criminal can be taken on board to mean any dynamism of reality. How? It's not possible. The tentacles of military juntas is autocratic, oppressive, devastating. It's horror. You understand? It's nothing to swim in calm waters. You are swimming against the tide at all times when the military people are in power.
Okay. All right, so the program is still African Discourse on independent television. So let's quickly take a short pause now. And of course, when we return, we are going to be looking at, it appears that the United Nations is overwhelmed by what is going on between Ukraine and Russia, because we are really not seeing any intervention of the United Nations in what is going on in Burkina Faso.
Yes.
One would have expected that for a nation to be having 2 coups under 8 months, that the United Nations would have stepped in. But we're really not getting any reaction in that regard. So when we come back, we will check and we'll be able to look at whether the war between Ukraine and Russia is overwhelming the United Nations. We'll be right back. All right, thank you one more time. We still have the video there of the swearing in of Ibrahim Traore as the new head of the transition government in Burkina Faso. And of course, we were talking about whether the war between Ukraine and Russia has overwhelmed the United Nations. How come United Nations is really not making impact? I mean, for Burkina Faso to be having 2 coups in less than just a year.
Yes. You see, less than maybe
just
about 8
about
months down the
yeah.
road. That would tell you the ineptness and the bankruptness of the mentality of some of these very poor African countries. You see, with a military coup, it's an illegal seizure of democratic process from the people. So whatever is illegal is criminal. It's indictable, and of course, incarceratable. But now, if you are looking at a country with a military might, you see, the budget of a nation allows some of aspects of the budget allows the funding of military establishments. And the reason for this funding is for the military to strengthen its strength, by way of, let's call it military strength, both personnel and arms, to be able, first and foremost, to guide the territorial integrity of the nation, and of course, to sustain the security of life and property
Burkinabes have
of its citizens.
Yeah, Doctor, we are looking at the United Nations.
I'm going into it.
All right, sir.
I am going into
All
it.
right, yeah.
Don't want to mash my tongue. You are not a military man. We have to discuss here. Yeah. So the United Nations are not too interested in areas where your economy cannot even fund their participation in your crisis. If you look at where they are mostly interested in, it's where the economy can fund their participation. You cannot come into a country where you cannot fund even to give ordinarily board and hospitality to their personnel, not to talk of to their logistics, their equatorial logistics. They cannot sustain it. They cannot survive it. So what are they coming to be interested for? Today they will be interested. Tomorrow they will be interested. Next tomorrow they will be interested. The African man is still galvanizing strength upon strength to oppress his people. Burkina Faso has never gone to war outside the territories of his small 270 kilometer boundaries. They have not been able to go out of there and impact strength and power against this neighboring Mali, Togo, Benin Republic, and what have you. So when you are so activated, so strong in oppressing your people, and you are expecting the United Nations to come in and fine-tune the disaster you have caused for yourself, that is asking for too much. That is asking for the impossible. Because even when they agree to help you, most of the time, when they are helping you to your own disadvantage, when I mean disadvantage, when it is not, to your own advantage economically, where personal aggrandization, that is your personal words as the head of state, you tell them, no, stay behind. I don't want any assistance from any foreign body. It's like when they are assisting you to entrance your democratic process by way of elections, by way of credible elections. But you still find most corrupt governments asking the international community not to be part of any of our elections that were sovereignty. Like the way El-Rufai threatened any international observers in the period of the last election, said if any international observers come to Nigeria,
but he also made
they'll
reactions.
be carried by body bags.
Doctor, he explained that that time. Let us not, mix the point here now.
Yes.
Now, let's look at lessons that Burkina Faso can learn from Nigeria. Because when we talk about the jihadist movements, obviously we're talking about...
I don't want to match your tongue. What lessons do you want to learn from Nigeria? This is a masterpiece of encouragement and
Doctor, but we have some...
Yeah,
that's what we're saying. I mean, we're talking about a country that is having 2 coups in less than 8 months just because there's a jihadist movement in the country. Yeah. Now, come back here in Nigeria. When somehow we also have our own fair share of the terrorism, issues in Nigeria and all that. But good as it were, we've not had, our military men are not taking power. They are not, organizing coup. So I think they have something to learn from us in that regard. Doctor, I want to speak on that.
You see, when you say, for instance, that our military men are not doing coup, what do they need the coup for?
But what do you think? What do you think Ibrahim Traore needs a coup for in Burkina Faso?
Ibrahim Traore may have needed the coup because of the democratic process they have in Burkina Faso, and he wants a self-enrichment and self-aggrandizement.
No, the reason he's giving is because of the jihadist movement.
You can give that reason.
I'm saying that even here in Nigeria.
I will go into that.
Okay.
For instance, Nigerians, do you know the people that mostly partake and effect a coup d'etat? They are mostly military personnel because they own and have the discretion of the arms and ammunition. Yeah. But then, to be able to gain autocratic power and autocratic rule, to be able to rule by sternness, you cannot tell me that our present leadership are not already ruling autocratically. We don't have a democratic process in Nigeria, for instance. So what did they need coup for?
You cannot say we don't have a democratic process.
I am saying that categorically to the face of the camera.
For the fact that we have an elected government in Nigeria, and of course, it is democracy that,
that it could be styled as a matter of fact, we are supposed to be a federation, but I will not confederation. So when you say it's a democratic government, but they are ruling autocratically, they are ruling in military-style government. They don't want to listen to you. They don't want to hear. Okay, for instance, the present electionary process going on for registration of PVCs and stuff like that, for voters registration and registration of voters. Yeah. It's a civic right for every citizen of a nation to be able to exercise that civic right of voting, and the process of being able to exercise that civic right must be sustainable by your present government. But in the whole of the world, I have been in a few places of the world, the government will always beg the citizens to come and register to vote. They beg everybody to vote. But in Nigeria, hopelessly corrupted, ineptness, they lack shine, they lack authenticity of truth. They would rather devoid and make a disabled system where the citizens cannot even participate in the election process. Many Nigerians are not registered voters. Many Nigerians were still on the queue trying to vote, trying to get their PVC.
Yeah, their permanent voters card
to vote. And Nigerian government just gave, the exercise is that's suspended or closed once they extended it.
Doctor, Nigerians had enough time.
No. Don't forget that when you go to those areas where they were voting polls, it was very animalistic. And the souring conditions of the weather, we are hitting over 36, 37 degrees of centigrade, and you expect even older women to go and stay on the queue. A queue that is a mile long.
Well, registration
in that case, they would have extended.
It's the same thing everywhere.
They would have, don't use the word everywhere, but this is Nigeria. They would have extended it to such a time, maybe 90 days to election. Okay, tell me, why did they suspend the voters registry? Meanwhile, they were able to do the BVN internationally. BVN, that is where is your money going to in Nigeria. They did BVN successfully, and everybody else that has a bank account has a BVN. They came with you the NIN or whatever for your telephone. They did it successfully. They make sure that everybody had an NIN or you cannot have a telephone. Ordinary BVN not to exercise your civic right. Government predominated on it, stepped on it, and frustrated the efforts of Nigerians.
All right, so
they were towering harbor all over the place. They created the hula balloon of the situation.
Yeah, all right, so back to the issues in Burkina Faso now. We're still looking at Ibrahim Traore, you know, a young guy, 34 years of age, a captain in the Burkina Faso army, taking over the leadership of government in Burkina Faso. Now, I mean, and I don't want to use the word an ordinary captain.
Yeah, no, military
man, you probably had the likes of general, army general, and all that. So, what do you think actually gave this young man the guts?
You know, you see, this is my own thinking, and you know, most times, the bane of the bastion of military strength is rested on the infantry. It's rested on the soldiers with their boots. It's rested on the ground soldiers. The hegemony of the military, which is the generals, they sit down in their air-conditioned offices, and most of the time they are not much. If you're looking at the generals in the Burkina Faso army, they may not be more than 3 or 4. Whatever it is.
No, you cannot say they may not be more than
that's why I use the word may not be,
okay.
You know.
Okay.
And so, you see, the captain, the lieutenants, and the corporals are the ones that are on ground, and they are the ones that are very, very numerous in number. Therefore, if a captain comes up and tells his numerous followers, they come, let's just throw away.
Take over this.
Let's throw away these petty generals with their red neck and everything. It's going to be easy for them. Going to be, there's a lot of mutiny. There's mutiny in the military when they are so dissatisfied, economically, socially, and otherwise. When they are so dissatisfied, you cannot give them instructions. And they disobey your instructions. I mean, what can you do? You cannot guide yourself. These are the young officers that guide you. Have you seen where a general guides a general? General doesn't guide a general. General wants the sentry to guide him. And that one can just pull a gun and shoot the bloody hell out of his head. And that will be it. So it's very easy for them to do coup when they see the loftiness of remunerations from doing a coup. Ordinarily, 2 weeks ago, this Ibrahim Traore was not known.
It wasn't known. It wasn't known.
Now, his photograph is all over the world.
Yeah.
It's the big presses, the big television houses. As a matter of fact, they have his photographs with the photograph of Sankara, even the photograph of Jesus Christ all over the whole place. They paste it together. So that alone, he would never be able to pay for that.
Yeah.
So those are some of the attractiveness that creates the tenacity of disturbances of government.
Now, you talked about the attractiveness in government. Even the military people, they become so attracted to government because of the gains and all that. Now, that brings us to want to ask a question. When a military takeover, you know, it's been, you know, it's done, like what is happening in Burkina Faso now. And of course, the military men, they come, they tell us that they want to install a democratically, you know, elected government. Now, little wonder, what is the sincerity of purpose? After you know that what they are interested in is the juiciness in power. So you begin to question the sincerity of purpose.
Yes, you know, there's no sincerity of purpose to question, because first and foremost, when you are engaged in illegality, there's no justification for illegality. You cannot settle a quarrel between 2 thieves. No, so you cannot justify anything about it apart from self-aggrandization. And as a matter of fact, we experienced several years ago in Nigeria here, when even our brother and our father that came in through coup d'etat also executed others that tried to come in through the same process that he himself came in through and killed them. Even they were classmates, like Vasta was killed based on the fact that he tried to, you know, get himself on coup, all them all kaku, everybody. But you see, that is the selfishness. That would tell you about the self-aggrandization. Because if you came in, in the Bible says, also with maybe the Quran, but you know, I'm Christian, says those who fight by the sword
we also die by the sword.
Also die by the sword. So it is selfish interest. It's selfish interest, not, you know, because for instance, when you come in by the coup, you suspend your constitution. And the constitution is the grand norm of any democracy. And so the people are no more free to do what they want to do. And for instance, in the case of Nigeria, when the military came in with their khaki, you understand, and khaki, and took over a duly elected democratic process, everybody in Nigeria abandoned the agricultural produce that used to give Nigeria a lot of export growth in terms of their GDP. They abandoned it, and because the military government were concentrating their efforts on oil. That is one of the big disadvantages of the coup, because you will abandon the process of your economic growth and go into a quick grab of quick resources. Yeah. You know, so they were sharing oil block to themselves, sharing oil remunerations to themselves, and that is it. And because of, as a matter of fact, because of the military sense, that their military sense of being military juntas. Look at the almost 4 kilometers of pipe recently in Nigeria that was discovered by this by Tompolo. Yeah. It was only perpetrated by the former military and the present military.
We also cannot say so.
No, but they said so because you know why? Because NNPC haven't spent 50 billion naira on monitoring the movements of boats that come into the high waters to load oil. They spend 50 billion to monitor any oil that is pumped from 1 liter to 2 million barrels. Whichever ship is shipping that
don't you think
will
that
become monitored and known? With that 50 billion haven't used for this thing, NNPC is now still telling us, oh, we don't know how. How can you not know how when you are spending 50 billion?
Exactly.
Having your mechanism in place
of
how to monitor the movement of oil. Now we have discovered that over 4 kilometers of oil. You are saying, oh, I don't know how. Is that one credible? A man like that should be in prison instead of pushing these little boys who will steal a telephone here and there and say those are the ones that will go to prison. Nigeria cannot be left to be that rotten. You understand? Africa, as a matter of fact, should be taught a lesson of, of self-respect. You see, for instance, in Japan. Japan is one country where you don't steal. If you leave, look at the man for parliament in Japan that they killed that day. They gave him public execution. As a parliamentarian that stole or he misappropriated some funds.
Misappropriation,
man. Because Japan, if you leave, I was in Japan several years ago. I forgot my camera. I was using it to, do some video. Myself and my wife. We're in Japan, and I forgot the camera. In the lobby of the hotel. I went to the hotel, slept 2 days, went out, and I forgot that I even had a camera.
And you came back, you found it.
When my wife was now telling me, oh, darling, let's go fishing and do some filming, I was looking. I said, where's the camera? Where's the camera? Where's the camera? Only for me to come down where I left it.
You met it there?
On the lobby, on the chair, it was a VIP lobby. Where I left it there, the camera was still there. That is a country for you. But Nigeria has been so dastardized. The economy has been so dastardized. It has come into a perilous situation that most people in Nigeria now have to fend for themselves.
Anyway, let's begin to look at
by all means, now. By any means.
Dr. Waibi, let's begin to look at way out, because the issue of military coup, if you like now, it should not be heard of anymore as far as human government is concerned, as far as the governments of the world is concerned, as far as global politics is concerned. Because, I mean, this is the 21st century, and we still hear 1 or 2 nations going into coup and all that. So what do we say in this direction, so that we don't hear of coup anymore at all?
You see, you know why? When there's no deterrent in a situation, you can perpetuate it. When there's no deterrent,
but not by coup.
Wait now, let me finish. What I mean, no, wait, let me finish. For instance,
because we're looking at the attendance, problems.
Let's look at it. For instance, there's no accountability in Nigeria for it. There's no accountability. Government, there's no accountability.
So are you not suggesting a coup for Nigeria?
No, if you calm down, I will come into the process of answering your question. The question is, you see, as a lawyer, for instance, there should be from the legislature an enactment. You understand? Of an act or a law, call it, either way, either federal or state, as a deterrent, determining the fact that if we succeed in a coup, it is criminal. You understand?
Yeah, but we have that as part of our
by the time you
constitution.
leave office,
Yeah.
you will still
be penalized.
the charges of having taken part or having perpetrated a coup.
Okay.
And then the penalty as prescribed by government
Yeah.
or by the legislature,
Yeah.
punishment against the offense.
Yeah.
If that law stands, and all those our former coup plotters who are now old and maybe senile, bring them to book, shoot them. Because it's the law. Don't go to grave soundly. No way. Come and face the law. Because this, you have done coup, yes, okay, fine. You now retired or they pushed you out or that coup pushed you out. Come and face the law, the music of the law. Is it only the poor persons in Nigeria or the world or Africans that will be facing the law? When you commit a crime, the crime is so covered up. It's like it's lawful. It is not lawful.
Yeah.
It's unlawful, perpetrated by outlaws.
Okay. All right. So I think at this point we'll keep on praying for Burkina Faso as
We
a
don't
nation,
pray.
as a sister country, and also expect their success, so to say. They've got the new transition leader there, Ibrahim Traore, has about 2 more years. Because he has promised that come 2024, he's going to be conducting. Before 2024, he would have conducted an election. And of course, by January 2024, he's going to be swearing in a new president, democratically elected president in Burkina Faso. So I think we'll have to take him by his words. But what we also need to plead for is that the issue of human rights in Burkina Faso should not be played with at all. We understand that once we have a military junta in power, human right is kept at bay. There's no constitution. The military rules by decree here and there and all that. So in as much that is going to be the situation in Burkina Faso now, we just pray that it should be done with a human face so that come 2024, the country can actually elect their democratically elected government. I want to say a very big thank you to Dr. Peter Owaibi, Peter the Rock, popularly called. He's a political analyst and, of course, a global political analyst, somebody that supports politics from the diaspora.
Tenaciously.
Yeah, and I also told you that he's a member of the Presidential Campaign Council of the
Labour Party.
Dr. Peter Owaibi, thank you so much for
very much,
finding
great
time
man.
to come
It's
on
okay.
the show
We'll continue
today.
to navigate the ship of badness in Nigeria.
All right,
Day,
so
someday.
that's the show for today. Ensure that you always keep your dial, log on the independent television, because this program comes your way every Monday at about 1:30. Until then, my name is Evan Sunokuge. Goodbye and God bless you.